In this video, I want to go over some basic layer panel organization tips. So if you're working on a project with hundreds of layers, which can be possible, there are going to be times where you are scrolling through your layers and you wish it was more organized. So there's a few different things that you can do to organize. The first is groups. So if you click this little file folder button, it creates a group. And then you can put layers into that group. So say we select all of our little images except for our background, we can hover over this group and you see that it kind of becomes a little indented, and that means it's within this folder. We can toggle this down so it kind of collapses that, and now it is all in one group and it's a lot cleaner. You can copy and paste. So I just press the Command C and Command V to copy that group. You can also drag this group into this plus button. And you can do that either with a group or a layer. So say I take this background layer, we drag it into the plus sign. Now we have two backgrounds. That's just another quick way to duplicate any sort of layer rather than like a copy paste or the option key that I mentioned. So now we have these two groups, and if we move one up, and you'll notice that when I clicked and tried to move the group, it just selected that kid. Do you remember why that is? It's because up here in our move tool, we have auto select set to layer instead of group. So if you're working with a lot of groups, you might want to set that to group. And so now if I click one item, it moves all of them, okay? So that's just a quick thing to note. Another thing you can do is merge layers. So let's say you have edited these three images of the bird and the elephant in this group up here, which we can rename by double clicking and call it group 2, whatever you want. You can give it any name. You can do this with a group, or you could do it with multiple items, but I'm just going to show you with a group. If you right click and then choose Convert to Smart Object, what it's going to do is make this object one layer, one object. Now, there are different types of layers. A smart object is one that you can still resize, and you should have, of course, it's limited to the quality of your image, but if you're using a vector-based graphic, which is one that you can actually scale infinitely without losing quality, with a smart object, you can scale it and you don't lose quality. There are going to be times where you're trying to do something to a layer, such as painting on it, or different things, where it won't let you do that with a smart object, and you'll need to rasterize it. Now, I'm getting a little bit deep in this, and I don't want to confuse you too much, but right-clicking and then clicking Rasterize Layer will do that. And now this is an object that if we continue to kind of edit, let's make it really small actually, and then say, let's undo that, and it's still the smart object. Let's make it really small, and then I'm going to right-click and choose Rasterize Layer. And then if I make it really big, again, see how it has lost the quality? And that's because we made it into a pixel perfect image, meaning those pixels are locked and rasterized. They're locked at that quality, and if you try to increase that size, it's going to lose quality. So anyways, I'm getting a little bit too deep in here because this is about organization, but these things come up as you're working with layers that I want you to know. So as you can see here, though, this is now one layer. We created that smart object and we merged them into one layer. So if you're working on it, it really depends on what your graphic is. You can always sort of merge things down to stay organized. I would definitely recommend that you save one of these as a second version. So say we had this, we made our edits, we think we're good with this photo, with this group, we want to make it as a smart object. What you might want to do is create a copy, so Command C, and then make this one a smart object. And you always have your backup, which is in a group which is it's organized, and you could always even have like a separate folder of, assets or whatever you want to call it, and you can actually put folders within a folder, so create subfolders and really organize it that way. So you always have the individual assets available, but you also have your smart object that you've created and edited that you'll continue working with. To ungroup items, there's a couple ways to do it. You can just right-click the group and choose Ungroup Layers. That deletes the group. That's probably the quickest. Or if you just want to move things out of the group, you can just click and drag them out of the group, and then you can delete the group if you're done with it. Now, there is one other way of sort of combining layers, and that's through merging. So say you have a layer or multiple layers, you can right-click and choose Merge Layers. This doesn't create a smart object. This just keeps that keeps the layers as they were, whatever type of layer they were. And now you have this layer with multiple, or with these two objects. In that right-click menu, you probably saw, I'm going to undo, there's a Merge Down. And so we can merge down. And what that does is it merges the top layer that you had selected with the layer below it. So if we merge down this layer now, it's going to merge into the elephant layer, and now all three of these are one layer. You can also right-click and choose Merge Visible, and that's going to merge all of the files that are visible into one layer. I'm going to undo that. And then lastly, you have Flatten Image, and that's going to actually take all of the assets that are in your canvas and actually merge it into one layer and make it the background. Now, it's a locked background. They call it a background. You can unlock this and it becomes a layer itself, but you can see that it actually adds that white background because it basically saves it as a JPEG, not really a JPEG, but saves it as an image, and it adds a background depending on what your canvas background color settings are. And that's pretty much it, where I want to leave off with organization for the layer panel. I know I went down a couple rabbit holes in this one, but I hope you follow it along, and I hope that it was beneficial to you. I know moving forward there's going to be future lessons like this, so if there's things that are a little bit too advanced or it's not exactly what you're looking for at the time, you are always free to skip ahead. Wherever you're watching this, there should be an option to speed up the playback so you can watch it faster, just so you can get through some of these longer lessons in a decent amount of time. Thanks so much for watching. See you in another lesson.